Ancient stone circles and pyramids around the world share a hidden geometric blueprint. This video uncovers the global network of sacred sites connected by unexplained geometry, a discovery that could shatter our understanding of history. You will learn how cultures separated by vast oceans used the same complex mathematics to build their monuments. Why would builders in Britain and Peru arrange their stones with identical precision? What forgotten knowledge allowed them to map the entire planet? The answers we find may reveal a lost civilization of master surveyors. How does the idea of a single ancient world change your view of human history? These stones whisper a secret across continents, a geometric language etched into the very landscape. When you connect the dots between sites like Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid, and Machu Picchu, a pattern emerges far grander than any single monument. This is the global megalithic matrix, a theory proposing that our ancestors wove a web of sacred sites across the planet using a shared rulebook of mathematics and astronomy. It is not about random placement, but about intentional design on a global scale. Think of it as a vast prehistoric circuit board, with each stone circle or temple acting as a vital node. Researchers who study this phenomenon point to the recurring use of what is often called sacred geometry, precise ratios and shapes found in nature, which these builders seemingly encoded into their work. They employed a consistent unit of measurement, a kind of ancient mile that appears in the distances between sites separated by vast oceans. The alignments are equally deliberate. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, is oriented with such stunning accuracy to true north that it rivals modern engineering, suggesting its builders possessed a profound understanding of the Earth's form. This network extends beyond straight lines, or ley lines as they are sometimes known, to form immense geometric shapes. Pentagons and triangles of staggering scale connect monuments, while solstice sunrises and specific star positions consistently mark ceremonial pathways and doorways. The unavoidable implication is a unified science, a forgotten body of knowledge so advanced it was used to map the entire world. This forces a profound question about our past. Who possessed the vision to draft this planetary blueprint, and what was its ultimate purpose? The stones of Stonehenge are more than a calendar for the seasons. They are a mathematical signature placed upon the land. This signature, a precise unit of measurement known as the megalithic yard, was discovered not only here but at hundreds of ancient sites across Europe. Professor Alexander Thom dedicated his career to surveying these monuments, and his work revealed a shocking consistency. The builders of Stonehenge employed a complex geometry based on the perfect Pythagorean triangle with sides of 5, 12, and 13 units. This was not simple guesswork. It was the application of a sophisticated and standardized mathematics. This same knowledge was used to position the station stones and to set the heel stone, which acts as a perfect gun sight for the rising sun on the longest day of the year. But the precision extends from the local landscape to the entire globe. The latitude of Stonehenge is exactly 1/360th of the Earth's circumference from the equator. This is no random coincidence. It suggests the builders understood the size and shape of our planet with an accuracy that history does not grant them. This single site, therefore, transforms from an isolated temple into a geodetic beacon. Its alignment with the sun and stars, its embedded mathematics, and its deliberate global position all point to a singular, inescapable conclusion. Stonehenge was not built alone. It was designed to be one point in a vast, interconnected system, a node in a network that stretches across continents. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a monument of impossible precision. It stands at a location that defies simple chance, positioned at the exact center of our planet's landmass. This point, where the longest line of latitude over land meets the longest line of longitude over land, suggests its builders viewed the entire Earth as their canvas. They were not simply constructing a tomb, they were anchoring a global system. The structure itself is a frozen mathematical equation. The ratio of its perimeter to its height mirrors the mathematical constant pi with stunning accuracy. Its four sides are aligned to the four cardinal directions with an error so small it rivals modern surveying tools, a task requiring deep and sustained astronomical observation. This was not architecture for local glory, it was geodetic science on a planetary scale. Researchers such as Charles Hapgood argued that the pyramid's position was deliberate, a fixed point in a vast longitudinal grid. The very units of measurement used in its construction, the pyramid cubit and the so-called pyramid inch, echo curiously in distant lands. These same units, or their remarkably close equivalents, appear in the stone circles of Britain and the steppe temples of Mesoamerica. How could cultures separated by oceans and millennia arrive at the same precise standard? The Great Pyramid begins to look less like a solitary wonder of the ancient world and more like the primary benchmark in a lost global network. It is the central node, the fixed point from which all other sites could be triangulated, a silent testament to a shared, forgotten blueprint. This idea of a connected world pulls our gaze across the Atlantic to where another mountain citadel echoes these same geometric principles. The idea of ley lines takes the geometric connections between sites and infuses them with a current of invisible energy. In the 1920s, an amateur archaeologist named Alfred Watkins looked across the English countryside and saw something remarkable. He perceived straight tracks connecting ancient mounds, stone circles, and even old churches, lines that ran for miles across the landscape. He called these alignments ley lines, and his vision suggested our ancestors were not just building in isolation, but were deliberately marking a vast, energetic web. Proponents of this theory suggest these lines follow paths of telluric currents, subtle earth energies that ancient cultures could somehow sense. They mark these flows with their most sacred structures, from the spiraling paths of Glastonbury Tor to the thousands of standing stones at Karnak in France, creating alignments that can stretch across entire countries. While many archaeologists see these lines as simple ancient pathways or the result of random chance, the global scale of the phenomenon raises deeper questions. How do we explain the recurring, specific geometric angles between sites an ocean apart? The theory proposes this network was a physical map of a spiritual or energetic web that covered the entire Earth. It might have been used for navigation, for ceremony, or perhaps even as a kind of ancient power grid, channeling a mysterious force for purposes we can only guess at today. This compelling idea of unseen energies gives a profound reason for the obsessive precision in monument placement. It suggests the builders were not just architects and astronomers, but also surveyors of a hidden world, capable of detecting and mapping forces that remain invisible to our modern instruments. Such a grand undertaking would have required tools and knowledge far beyond what we traditionally attribute to the ancient world. High in the Andes Mountains, the stone walls of Sacsayhuaman defy all conventional understanding of ancient construction. These colossal zigzagging ramparts are assembled from blocks so immense that some weigh more than 200 tons, yet they are fitted together with a precision that leaves no space for even a blade of grass to pass between them. No mortar was used, and for centuries, this intricate stone puzzle has withstood powerful earthquakes that would reduce modern buildings to rubble. The sheer scale and perfection of this work hint at a knowledge system that reached far beyond the needs of a local fortress or temple. This was not merely a stronghold, it was a statement carved in stone, a testament to a science of seemingly impossible engineering. The builders here were not just stacking rocks, they were weaving stone, creating a structure that feels both indestructible and alive. Its alignment to the heavens confirms a deeper purpose. Specific walls within the complex point directly to the rising sun on the June solstice, a celestial event that was also meticulously marked by the builders of Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid. This shared solar preoccupation across continents cannot be a simple coincidence. It points to a unified, global fascination with the cycles of the sky. The geometric language of Sacsayhuaman is equally telling. The recurring use of trapezoidal shapes in doorways, windows, and niches is a signature found at other major Inca sites like Ollantaytambo and the cloud-shrouded citadel of Machu Picchu. This was not a random stylistic choice. It appears to be a standardized architectural code, a set of rules applied across a vast empire. Some researchers looking at the global map propose an even more staggering connection. They suggest that the location of Sacsayhuaman forms a precise geometric relationship, a great circle route with sites as distant as Easter Island and the Giza Plateau in Egypt. While this idea is hotly debated, it forces a profound question. Why would a mountaintop complex in South America share such specific design principles and potential alignments with monuments an ocean away? The unavoidable conclusion is that Sacsayhuaman was more than a local marvel. It was a major node, a mountaintop beacon in a planetary system of aligned sites, a sister sentinel to the pyramids and stone circles of the Old World. This compels our search to continue, to find its counterparts across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. This recurring measurement is perhaps the most tangible clue left behind by these ancient architects. From the windswept stone circles of Scotland to the sun-baked plateau of Giza, we find the same exact unit of length stamped into the very fabric of their constructions. It is known as the megalithic yard. Professor Alexander Thom surveyed hundreds of ancient sites across Britain and France, and his meticulous work revealed a pattern so consistent it defied all explanation. These diverse monuments were not built with arbitrary local measures. They were all constructed using a standard unit of 2.72 feet. What does such precision mean? It means that a builder in the Orkney Islands and a builder hundreds of miles to the south were working from the same blueprint, following the same set of mathematical rules. This was not a coincidence, it was a system. The implications become even more profound when we look beyond Europe. The King's Chamber within the Great Pyramid of Giza, a structure sealed for millennia, was built using a unit strikingly similar to the megalithic yard. How is it possible that the same measurement appears in a pyramid in Egypt and a stone circle in Britain, two cultures separated by thousands of miles and supposedly by thousands of years? The answer seems to point toward a shared, foundational knowledge. Some researchers suggest this elegant unit was derived from something universal, perhaps the swing of a pendulum or a precise fraction of the Earth's rotation. This was not a crude measurement guessed by primitive people. It was a sophisticated, standardized constant, a testament to a deep understanding of our world's natural rhythms. The widespread use of this single unit is one of the most compelling arguments for a connected ancient world. It forces us to confront a monumental question. How was this precise knowledge preserved and transmitted across continents and across generations, weaving a single thread of mathematics through cultures we thought were worlds apart? The colossal moai of Easter Island brood over a landscape of silent questions. Isolated in the vast emptiness of the Pacific Ocean, these stone giants are far more than mysterious statues. Their stone platforms, known as ahu, are oriented with celestial precision, capturing the exact point of the equinox sunrise and sunset on the horizon. This is not a local tradition. It is the same astronomical language spoken by the builders of Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid. The island's location itself appears mathematically deliberate. It forms one corner of the vast Polynesian Triangle, and some researchers argue it sits on a precise great circle alignment that connects it directly to the plains of Nazca and the Giza Plateau. This suggests its isolation is an illusion. Easter Island may have been a known point, a fixed coordinate in a vast, ancient seafaring map. The Rapa Nui people left behind a unique and undeciphered script called Rongorongo. While its meanings are lost, some scholars suspect it records sophisticated astronomical data and navigational charts, the very knowledge needed to traverse the open ocean and connect with other lands. The sheer effort of creating the moai defies logic for a small, isolated community. Moving statues weighing over 80 tons across miles of rugged terrain required a masterful understanding of physics and logistics, a knowledge system that seems to appear fully formed. This has led to a compelling theory. Easter Island was not a lonely outpost that collapsed in on itself. It was a deliberate and strategic marker, a remote beacon in a prehistoric world system. Its silent sentinels were not looking inward but outward across the waves, as if waiting for a signal from another node in the network. This idea of a connected Pacific pulls our gaze toward the most enigmatic lines on Earth, the giant geoglyphs etched into the deserts of Peru. The geometry binding these sites is written on a planetary scale. If you were to draw a perfect equilateral triangle on a world map, placing one point at the Great Pyramid of Giza, another at Stonehenge, and the third at the colossal stone platform of Baalbek in Lebanon, you would find the sides of this triangle are nearly identical in length. This is not a random outcome. The probability of 3 such significant ancient sites forming such a precise shape by pure chance is astronomically low. This triangle is just one thread in a far grander tapestry. Consider the path of a great circle, the longest possible route around the Earth. One such circle passes directly through Giza, the ancient oracle at Siwa, and the great temple complex of Thebes in Egypt, before arcing across the globe to touch sacred sites in distant Asia. This is not a simple straight line. It is a curve that demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of our planet as a sphere. The patterns multiply. Researchers have identified potential pentagonal and hexagonal grids superimposed over the continents, linking the towering temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia to the vast Avenue of the Dead in Teotihuacan, Mexico. What could possibly explain this? The connections rely on more than just approximate locations. They are woven together by recurring mathematical constants, like the golden ratio, a proportion celebrated for its harmony and its frequent appearance in the natural world. This suggests the builders were not just placing monuments where it was convenient. They were using a shared, advanced knowledge of the Earth's true dimensions to create a geometric blueprint that spanned the globe. This universal language of shapes and numbers transcends every barrier of culture and epoch. It hints at a common source, a foundational school of knowledge that instructed humanity on how to weave its most sacred places into a single, coherent, and breathtaking whole. Deep within the Yucatan jungle, the Pyramid of El Castillo rises as a stone embodiment of celestial time. This Maya masterpiece, known as Chichen Itza, functions with a precision that transcends its role as a local temple. Its most famous spectacle occurs as the sun sets on the spring and autumn equinoxes. A shadow descends the northern staircase, forming the undulating body of a feathered serpent, Kukulkan, slithering down to earth. This dramatic effect was not born from chance. It required generations of meticulous observation, a profound understanding of the solar cycle encoded directly into the pyramid's architecture. The structure itself is a counting device. Each of its 4 sides has 91 steps, which, added together with the final platform at the summit, creates a total of 365 distinct levels. This is a perfect solar calendar carved in stone, a permanent record of the year's journey. Yet the ambition of its builders may have reached far beyond the Yucatan horizon. When we look at its position on the globe, a fascinating pattern emerges. The longitudinal distance between Chichen Itza and the Great Pyramid of Giza is a mathematically significant fraction of the Earth's entire circumference. This precise placement feels less like a coincidence and more like a deliberate act of global surveying. The Maya were obsessed with vast cycles of time, tracking planetary movements and recording epochs in their long count calendar. They perceived their civilization as part of a grand, interconnected cosmic order. Could the physical placement of their greatest cities have been a way to anchor this belief into the very planet? Chichen Itza begins to look less like an isolated capital and more like a consciously placed node in a worldwide array of observatories. It was not merely marking time for its own people. It may have been synchronizing with a wider planetary clock, its alignments whispering in harmony with stone circles and pyramids across the world. This raises a monumental question about the network's ultimate function. If these sites were not just temples or tombs but part of a synchronized system, what was this global machine designed to measure? A wobble in our planet's rotation, so slow it takes 26,000 years to complete a single cycle, seems like a concept only modern science could grasp. This is the great year, the precession of the equinoxes, where the Earth's axis gradually traces a circle in the sky. It is a timescale almost beyond human comprehension, yet the evidence carved in stone suggests our ancestors not only understood it, but built their greatest monuments to track its progress. Mainstream history often credits the discovery of this cycle to the Greeks, yet the architectural signatures point to a much older, far more profound awareness. Look inside the Great Pyramid at the narrow shafts that pierce its core. These were not simply air vents. One is aligned precisely with the star Theban, which was the pole star when the pyramid was constructed, a celestial fact lost to the shifting sky until Precession brought it back into alignment for our modern calculations. Another shaft targets the Belt of Orion, a constellation of deep mythological significance across the ancient world. This was architecture designed to capture a specific moment in a 26,000-year celestial clock. The same grand vision appears on the other side of the planet. The sprawling temple complex of Angkor Wat in Cambodia is a map of the heavens, but not of the sky as it appeared in the 12th century when it was built. Some researchers propose its layout mirrors the constellation Draco, exactly as it would have been arranged in the heavens around 10,500 years before the Common Era. This is not a coincidence, it is a deliberate backward glance across a vast gulf of time, a permanent record of the sky from a previous precessional age. Why would cultures separated by continents and millennia encode this same immense cycle into their most sacred sites? It suggests their purpose was far greater than marking the annual turn of the seasons. They were building for the ages, creating stone calendars to measure time itself on a scale that dwarfs our own historical records. This shared, obsessive focus on precession is one of the strongest threads tying this global network together. It points to a common source of knowledge so advanced, it could perceive the slow dance of the cosmos and had the patience to plot its course across millennia, leaving behind a message in geometry for us to decipher. The geometric purity of the Nazca lines is a statement of intent etched into the desert floor. These vast geoglyphs in Peru are not simply drawings. They are a landscape-scale demonstration of knowledge, a testament to a culture that could think and build on a truly monumental scale. Created by carefully removing a layer of dark stones to expose the lighter earth beneath, the lines form perfect triangles, trapezoids, and spirals that stretch for miles with unwavering straightness. From ground level, they are an incomprehensible puzzle, but from above, they reveal a breathtaking geometric clarity that could only be the product of sophisticated planning and execution. This precision in shaping the land itself mirrors the ambition we see in the placement of pyramids and stone circles across the globe. The purpose of these desert markings has been debated for generations. Some of the longest lines act as celestial markers, pointing directly to the sun's position on the solstice horizon. Others seem to aim like arrows toward distant mountains or sources of precious water, suggesting a function in ritual and resource mapping. Yet their sheer scale and geometric perfection have led researchers to a more expansive theory. Could these lines be terrestrial coordinates, a kind of map key for a planetary grid? Imagine the Nazca Desert as a colossal surveyor's chart, its straight lines and sharp angles serving as reference points for a much larger system. The capability to enact such large-scale designs on the ground implies a deep understanding of geometry and measurement that aligns perfectly with the skills needed to position sites like the Great Pyramid or Stonehenge within a global network. These lines are not isolated art. They are the logical extension of a universal language of form, translated from monumental architecture directly onto the skin of the earth. This invites a profound shift in perspective. Perhaps the entire planet was their canvas, and the Nazca lines are merely one panel of a much grander, interconnected design, a design whose full pattern we are only just beginning to trace. This recurring puzzle strikes at the very heart of our historical narrative. How can we explain the same complex geometry appearing in cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of years? This enigma has divided scholars into two distinct camps, a debate that fundamentally reshapes our understanding of human ingenuity. On one side is the theory of cultural diffusion, the idea that this advanced knowledge was carried across the globe. Proponents like the explorer Thor Heyerdahl demonstrated the feasibility of ancient ocean travel, sailing his reed boat, the Kon-Tiki, from South America to Polynesia. This tangible evidence suggests that long-distance contact was not only possible but probable, allowing for the transfer of architectural blueprints, measurement systems, and celestial maps. The global prevalence of pyramid structures, from the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the step temples of Mesoamerica, stands as a powerful, visible argument for shared knowledge. It is difficult to dismiss the recurring use of the same precise angles and mathematical constants as mere coincidence when they are found in monuments an ocean apart. The opposing view, known as independent invention, offers a different perspective. It argues that humanity, facing similar challenges and observing the same sun, moon, and stars, would naturally arrive at parallel solutions. Any agricultural society, for instance, would independently discover the solstices to manage their planting cycles. Building with stone would lead many cultures to develop the stability of trapezoidal doorways. This theory celebrates the universal spark of human creativity, suggesting that great minds can think alike even when worlds apart. Yet for many who study the global network, the independent invention theory struggles with the sheer specificity of the evidence. The consistent use of the megalithic yard or the deliberate encoding of the precession of the equinoxes are not simple, intuitive discoveries. They are the hallmarks of a sophisticated, standardized science. This is not just about recognizing the summer solstice, it is about building a machine to track its slow drift across a 26,000-year cycle. The debate is far from settled, and it forces us to confront a profound question about our past. Were our ancestors isolated geniuses, or were they participants in a vast, interconnected dialogue, sharing a forgotten science that allowed them to inscribe a unified design upon the entire planet? The stones themselves seem to whisper of a connection that our history books have yet to record. Mount Kailash rises from the Tibetan plateau as a natural pyramid of staggering symmetry, a mountain not built by human hands yet central to the world's sacred geography. This majestic peak is revered across 4 major religions as the axis mundi, the spiritual axis of the entire world. It is considered the abode of deities, a place where the earthly and the divine directly intersect. The mountain's very geography speaks a universal language with 4 great rivers, the Indus, the Sutlej, the Brahmaputra, and the Karnali flowing from its base toward the 4 cardinal directions. This is the archetypal world navel, a concept echoed in traditions from Greece to the indigenous Americas, where a central point gives life to the entire world. The mountain's position on the globe, however, introduces a layer of mathematical precision that feels anything but random. The distance from Mount Kailash to the North Pole is exactly 6,666 kilometers. Even more remarkably, the distance from Kailash to Stonehenge is also 6,666 kilometers. To find such a specific, repeating number connecting a natural sacred mountain to a man-made stone circle in England defies simple coincidence. This numerological pattern suggests the mountain was recognized not just for its local spiritual significance, but for its role in a planetary scale design. For countless generations, pilgrims have undertaken a ritual walk around the mountain's base, a 52-kilometer journey of circumambulation. This sacred pathway mirrors the ritual circuits performed at other global nodes, such as the encircling of the Kaaba in Mecca, hinting at a shared human impulse to honor these points through motion. While we see no cut stones or rising pyramids here, we find something perhaps more profound, a natural feature of such perfect form and geometric placement that it was universally recognized as a primary anchor in the Earth's energetic and spiritual anatomy. Mount Kailash compels us to consider that the global network is not merely an artifact of engineering, but a map of the planet's soul, with this silent, majestic peak as its ultimate sentinel. These mathematical echoes are not random. They are the signature of a universal language, a code written in the dimensions of the world itself. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a perfect example. The ratio of its perimeter to its height is not a simple round number, but a figure that closely approximates 2 times pi. This means the builders deliberately incorporated this transcendental number, a value representing the constant ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, into the very form of a pyramid. Even more strikingly, the slope of its sides, the line from the peak to the middle of a base edge, forms a ratio with half its base length that is incredibly close to the golden ratio. This specific number, approximately 1.618, appears throughout nature in the spiral of a nautilus shell and the branching of trees. It is a proportion perceived by the human mind as inherently beautiful and harmonious. This was not a secret confined to Egypt. At Stonehenge, the geometric principles are just as profound. The famous station stone rectangle and the Sarsen circle are arranged using Pythagorean triangles, and the proportions of these triangles often resolve to ratios that whisper of the same constants. The same harmonic rule book was consulted on the other side of the world. The Parthenon in Greece is famously designed with its facade fitting almost perfectly within a golden rectangle. Far to the east, the intricate Sun Temple at Madhura in India is laid out with proportions that also honor this divine ratio. The recurrence of these specific, complex numbers is a thunderous argument against isolated development. It points toward a shared, perhaps sacred, understanding of mathematics. These builders were not merely calculating how to stack stones. They were engaged in a far grander project, encoding the fundamental laws of the cosmos into their architecture. They were translating the music of the spheres into a silent, enduring symphony of stone, creating a physical representation of cosmic order that was consistent from the British plains to the Indian subcontinent. Why would this be so important? Because it suggests the entire global network was more than a collection of observatories. It was a distributed university, each site a lecture hall teaching the same curriculum of universal harmony. Beneath the waves off the coast of Japan lies a mystery that could rewrite our entire understanding of the ancient world. The Yonaguni monument is a colossal, terraced structure, a sprawling complex of sharp 90-degree angles, flat parallel faces, and staircases that ascend into the deep blue gloom. Since its discovery in the 1980s, this underwater enigma has been at the center of a fierce scientific debate. Some geologists argue the structure is a remarkable but entirely natural formation, shaped by tidal forces and seismic activity. Others, like marine geologist Professor Masaki Kimura, point to features that defy simple geological explanation. They see carved channels that seem too straight, what appear to be star-shaped markers etched into the rock, and even ceremonial arches that frame the underwater landscape. If these features are indeed the work of human hands, the implications are staggering. For the Yonaguni monument to be above water and functional, it would have to have been constructed before the end of the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago. This is a time when, according to conventional history, no human culture possessed the technology or organization for such ambitious stone working. The monument's potential geometric forms, its right angles and terraces, echo the design language we see in other global sites. Could it be that Yonaguni was a node in the network, established by a prehistoric maritime culture that built along coastlines now lost to the sea? Its submergence points to a profound possibility. The full extent of this ancient global system may be hidden, its most crucial chapters lying on drowned continental shelves, waiting for us to rediscover a lost epoch of human achievement. The breathtaking accuracy of this global network forces a simple question. How was it done without satellites or laser rangefinders? The answer lies not in complex machinery, but in a profound mastery of simple principles. A single vertical stick, known as a gnomon, planted firmly in the earth, becomes a powerful astronomical instrument. By meticulously tracking the path of its shadow throughout the day and across the seasons, an ancient surveyor could determine true north with perfect accuracy. They could pinpoint the solstices, the longest and shortest days, and even calculate their latitude on the planet. This humble tool was the foundation upon which the entire system could be built. To extend these local observations across miles of rugged landscape, they likely employed long lines of sighting poles. These markers, positioned on hilltops, would create dead straight alignments visible across vast distances. The cords stretched between them may have been cut to a standardized length, perhaps that very same megalithic yard found etched into stone circles and pyramids, ensuring consistency from one team of builders to the next. With these straight lines established, creating perfect right angles was the next logical step. Here, the timeless simplicity of geometry came into play. A triangle with sides measuring 3, 4, and 5 of those standardized units will always form a perfect right angle. This Pythagorean principle, known for millennia, was the ancient world's equivalent of a modern theodolite. It allowed surveyors to lay out the precise squares and rectangles we see at sites from Sacsayhuaman to the Giza Plateau. But what about positioning sites from east to west? Determining longitude was a notorious challenge for much later navigators, yet these builders seemed to have a solution. By carefully observing the transit of specific stars, particularly those that never set, the circumpolar stars that wheel endlessly around the celestial pole, they could have established a reliable clock in the sky. The slight differences in the timing of these stellar events between two locations could theoretically reveal their longitudinal separation. We can even envision teams using reflective pools of water or polished metal sheets to flash signals across great valleys, coordinating their efforts over a horizon. This was not magic. It was a science built on patience, on generations of accumulated sky knowledge, and on an elegant understanding of form and measurement. The true sophistication was in their sustained observation, their ability to see the grand patterns in the heavens and translate them with stunning fidelity onto the face of the earth. The cosmic city of Teotihuacan rises from the Valley of Mexico as a vast stone model of the heavens. Its very name, given by the later Aztecs, means the place where one becomes a god, and walking its grand avenue of the dead, you feel the weight of that ambition. This central thoroughfare is not aligned to true north, but is deliberately offset by 15.5 degrees to the east. This specific angle is no architectural error. Researchers suggest it was a deliberate sightline, a terrestrial arrow pointing directly toward the setting point of the Pleiades star cluster on the horizon. This group of stars held profound meaning across Mesoamerica, often associated with the beginning of time and the cycles of creation. The city's layout was a direct reflection of the cosmos above. The colossal pyramid of the sun and the pyramid of the moon are not placed randomly. Their relative positions and distances from one another have been interpreted by some scholars as a scale model of our solar system, mirroring the orbital distances of the inner planets from their central star. This was urban planning as sacred astronomy. Even the unit of measurement used to build this metropolis speaks of a wider connection. Known as the Teotihuacan unit, this standard length has been controversially linked to the megalithic yard of Europe and the pyramid cubit of Egypt. While debated, the very possibility suggests the architects of this American city were using the same mathematical rulebook as their counterparts across the Atlantic. Teotihuacan was not merely a city, it was a functioning cosmos carved in stone, a deliberate and grand-scale replication of a universal blueprint for how a sacred center should be arranged. Its existence as a Western hemispheric hub forces us to wonder how many other ancient urban centers were built to this same celestial code. The shadow of a feathered serpent slithering down a pyramid is more than a spectacle. It is a symbol, and this symbol echoes across the world in the very stones of the global network. From the dragon currents of Chinese geomancy to the winding forms of Britain's Glastonbury zodiac, the serpent or dragon emerges as a universal emblem of the Earth's hidden vitality. Ancient cultures seem to perceive a living energy coursing through the planet, a force they often depicted as a great serpent coiling within the land. The straight alignments we call ley lines might be the visible markers of this creature's path, its energetic spine connecting sacred nodes. This idea transforms the network from a mere geometric exercise into a spiritual anatomy of the world. The ancients were not just building on this energy, they were building with it, honoring it through myth and monument. This symbolic language even extends to the stars. High above, the constellation Draco, the dragon, winds around the celestial North Pole. Its stars were not just random points of light. They were a celestial mirror of the earthly serpent, and many monuments, including the shafts within the Great Pyramid, were aligned to its specific stars. Why would cultures with no known contact share this profound symbolic link between Earth and sky? It suggests they were participating in a unified worldview, one where the planet was a living being and their sacred sites were acupuncture points along its energetic meridians. The precision of their mathematics was not cold calculation. It was a devotional act, a way to harmonize human structures with the deep, pulsing rhythm of the world itself. Deep within the mountains of Greece, the oracle of Delphi spoke for the gods. This was not merely a temple, but a place the ancient Greeks called the omphalos, the literal navel of the world. Here, the veil between the earthly and the divine was believed to be tissue-thin. A priestess, the Pythia, would descend into a sunken chamber, breathe in vapors rising from a fissure in the earth, and deliver prophecies that shaped the course of empires. For centuries, this was dismissed as myth. Yet modern geology has uncovered a stunning truth, finding intersecting faults beneath the temple that emit ethylene gas, a substance known to induce a trance-like state. This was no mere legend. It was a sophisticated application of a very real terrestrial science. The builders of Delphi did not choose this location at random. They selected it for its unique geophysical properties, understanding that this specific point on the Earth held a palpable power. The temple's precise architecture was designed to harness this energy. The inner sanctum, the Aditon where the Pythia sat, was positioned directly over this geological crossroads, turning a natural phenomenon into a conduit for the divine. This reveals a profound principle. The ancients were not just building on the land, they were building with it, listening to its whispers and tapping into its invisible currents. Delphi's role in the global network extends beyond its local energy. Its geographic position is mathematically precise, forming a straight alignment with the sacred island of Delos and the Acropolis in Athens. Some researchers extend this line even further, tracing it across the sea to connect with major temple sites in Egypt. This was not a lonely outpost of spirituality. It was a deliberately placed node in a vast intercontinental system. Delphi stands as a perfect archetype, a place where geology, geography, and human spiritual practice converged in a single, powerful nexus. It demonstrates that the global network was more than just an astronomical calculator. It was a living, breathing system, a planetary anatomy of power spots where the Earth itself was believed to speak. The stones of these sacred sites seem to draw power not only from the sky but from the very heart of the Earth. A consistent and remarkable pattern emerges when we look beneath the surface, revealing that many of these monuments were built directly above or adjacent to significant underground water sources. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, rests atop a massive aquifer, a vast reservoir of water flowing deep below the desert sand. Some researchers propose that the pyramid's unique geometry and the specific stone used in its construction might interact with this subterranean water, potentially creating subtle, measurable energy fields. This idea moves beyond simple coincidence, suggesting the builders possessed a sophisticated understanding of the land's hidden hydrology. Far to the north, the Chalice Well at Glastonbury in England has been a place of pilgrimage for thousands of years. Its waters, tinged red by a high iron content, have long been associated with healing and spiritual renewal, their sacred status preserved in Arthurian legends of the Holy Grail. This was not an isolated tradition. High in the Andes, the Inca masterfully integrated water into their most sacred architecture. At Machu Picchu, they constructed intricate stone channels to guide the flow of natural springs through the city, turning the sound and sight of moving water into an essential part of the temple's atmosphere. The consistent presence of flowing water at these global nodes points toward a shared knowledge. Moving water creates a unique electromagnetic environment, and it is theorized that ancient surveyors, perhaps using methods like dowsing, could detect these energetic hotspots. They were not merely building near water for practical sustenance. They were intentionally siting their most powerful structures at the confluence of celestial geometry and terrestrial energy, tapping into the planet's own vital currents. This reveals the network as a truly holistic creation, a cosmic blueprint perfectly married to the living, breathing anatomy of the Earth itself. The Goseck Circle in Germany stands as a quiet testament to an ancient obsession with the sky. Constructed nearly 7,000 years ago, this simple ring of ditches and wooden posts is one of the oldest solar observatories ever discovered. Its design is a lesson in elegant efficiency. 3 concentric circles, broken by narrow gates, were precisely aligned to capture the sun's lowest arc on the shortest day of the year. As the winter solstice sun rose and set, its light would have streamed perfectly through these southern openings, marking a turning point in the annual cycle with stunning accuracy. For an early farming community, this was more than ceremony, it was survival, a way to anchor their entire calendar to the unwavering rhythm of the cosmos. The geometry embedded in its layout is surprisingly sophisticated. The proportions of the circles and the angles between the gates reveal a people who are not just watching the sky, but actively measuring it, encoding their understanding into the very soil. The discovery of Goseck sent ripples through our understanding of prehistoric Europe. It proves that the drive to build celestial calendars, a drive we see at Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid, was not confined to a few advanced cultures. Here, in the heart of Germany, a society contemporaneous with the earliest British megalith builders was achieving the same ends with simpler means. They used wood instead of stone and local horizons instead of towering pyramids, yet their foundational knowledge was the same. This circle demonstrates that the core principles of the global network, the precise alignment to solar cycles and the use of sacred geometry, could be implemented with the most basic technology. Goseck's powerful simplicity makes it a crucial benchmark. It shows us that the grand stone monuments that followed were not sudden miracles, but the magnificent culmination of a tradition that began millennia earlier with posts and ditches, a universal human impulse to trace the order of the heavens onto the familiar face of the Earth. Satellite imagery now offers a bird's-eye view of our planet's ancient skin, allowing modern researchers to test this grand theory with digital precision. One ambitious project, known as Google Earth Anomalies, meticulously charts the proposed lines between sacred sites, measuring angles and distances with pixel-perfect accuracy. In some cases, the statistical correlations they uncover are startlingly precise, forming geometric shapes so large and so perfect that the probability of random chance seems vanishingly small. This high-tech cartography is complemented by boots-on-the-ground science. At sites like Stonehenge, geologists deploy ground-penetrating radar and electrical resistivity tomography, sending invisible pulses into the Earth to map the world beneath our feet. They search for hidden chambers, buried stone arrangements, or even subtle anomalies in the soil that might suggest the presence of ancient energy channels or forgotten construction. Yet for every tantalizing correlation, a chorus of academic skepticism provides a necessary counterbalance. Mainstream archaeologists often point to a powerful psychological phenomenon known as confirmation bias. They argue that when you have thousands of ancient sites scattered across the globe, it is statistically inevitable that some will form interesting shapes and patterns simply by accident. A researcher might draw a line connecting 3 significant monuments, but what about the hundreds of other important sites that fall nowhere near that line? The skeptics remind us that the human brain is a pattern-seeking machine, sometimes seeing intentional design in the random scatter of stars or stones. This rigorous debate is not a weakness in the investigation, but its greatest strength. It forces everyone to sharpen their arguments, to seek more data, and to move beyond intriguing anecdotes. The goal is no longer just to propose a network, but to prove it with a level of mathematical and archaeological rigor that can withstand the most intense scrutiny. This push and pull between visionary theory and cautious science is the very engine that could transform a compelling mystery into a verifiable chapter of our human story. The desert city of Petra emerges from the rose-red cliffs like a mirage carved in stone. While its breathtaking facade is famous, the true genius of this place lies in its invisible architecture, a celestial blueprint etched into the very canyons. The journey into the city begins with the Sick, a winding, narrow gorge that serves as a natural processional way. This is not a random crack in the mountain. It is a precision-engineered corridor, perfectly aligned so that on the equinoxes, the setting sun pours its golden light directly down its length, setting the treasury ablaze with a momentary, calculated fire. This was no accident of geology. The Nabateans, masters of water and stone, were also profound astronomers. They sculpted their entire capital to harmonize with the cycles of the sky, turning the entire landscape into a functioning observatory. High above the city, the immense facade of the monastery is oriented to capture the setting sun on the very day commemorating the kingdom's founding, linking their political identity directly to a solar event. Tombs and high places of sacrifice are not placed for scenic appeal alone. Their doorways and altars target specific stars and solar standstills, suggesting that every ceremony, every act of remembrance, was conducted under a sky whose movements were meticulously mapped onto the city's stone skeleton. Petra's sophisticated celestial alignment is not an isolated wonder. It is a powerful echo of the same practices we see at Stonehenge and Teotihuacan, a tradition carried forward through time by a different culture in a different desert. This continuity is profound. It suggests that the knowledge of how to weave sacred sites into the cosmic fabric was not lost, but was instead adapted and refined by successive civilizations, each adding a new chapter to a single, planetary manuscript written in geometry and light. This unified worldview transforms every stone from a simple monument into a sacred act of participation. For these ancient builders, the Earth was not an inert rock to be dominated, but a living, breathing entity. The sky was not a distant void, but a cosmic mirror. In this perennial philosophy, the geometric patterns they so carefully mapped were the very grammar of creation, a divine language spoken by the universe itself. Building a pyramid or raising a stone circle was therefore a profound spiritual practice. It was an act of co-creation, a way to anchor the perfect, timeless order of the heavens into the mutable realm of Earth. They believed that by doing this, they were maintaining the harmony and balance of the entire cosmos, ensuring the cycles of seasons, the fertility of the land, and the spiritual well-being of their people. This stands in stark opposition to how we often view history today, as a collection of isolated cultures competing for resources and power. The global network suggests something far more beautiful, a time when humanity saw itself as a conscious participant in a vast, interconnected system. The precision of their mathematics was not cold calculation, it was a devotional act. The alignment to a star was not just an observation, it was a conversation. This challenges the very core of our modern, materialist assumptions about the past. It invites us to consider that the greatest mystery of these sites is not how they were built, but why. Their true purpose may have been to create a resonant harmony between humanity and the cosmos, to build a reflection of heaven here on Earth. We are only just beginning to listen for the echoes of that grand, forgotten vision. The windswept ring of Brodgar stands as a perfect circle of stone on a remote Orkney isthmus, a geometric ideal carved into a dramatic landscape of hills and water. This is not an isolated monument, but the central jewel in a vast ceremonial complex, a Neolithic cathedral district built with a vision that connected earth and sky. Its builders achieved a near-perfect circularity with its ditch and stone settings, a feat of surveying that would challenge even modern engineers. They chose this specific location not for convenience, but for power, positioning the ring within a natural amphitheater that magnifies its presence and turns the entire area into a sacred stage. From this central point, sightlines stretch out to connect with the nearby stones of Stenness and the great chambered cairn of Misho, creating a local network of sites that speak to one another across the short distances. This was a society deeply organized around a shared cosmic understanding. The astronomical knowledge encoded here is particularly profound. Specific stones within the Brodgar circle are aligned to capture the last rays of the midwinter sunset, marking the year's darkest day. But even more remarkably, other alignments target the major lunar standstill, an event where the moon reaches its most extreme rising and setting points on the horizon, a cycle that only completes once every 18.6 years. Tracking this slow, long-term lunar dance requires generations of patient observation, a commitment to a science that looks far beyond a single human lifetime. The presence of this sophisticated practice on a small Scottish island is a powerful clue. It demonstrates that the principles of the global network were not reserved for the great desert pyramids or jungle temples. They were a universal language applied with equal precision by a small island community, proving this ancient science was a fundamental part of the human story, as consistent in its application in Orkney as it was in Egypt or Mexico. Yet the investigation into this global network is far from over. Vast regions of the world and countless lesser-known monuments remain unanalyzed, their potential geometric relationships still waiting to be uncovered. The next great frontier for this research lies beneath the waves. During the last ice age, when sea levels were hundreds of feet lower, entire coastal landscapes that are now submerged were dry land. Underwater archaeology holds the potential to discover these lost sites, completing critical missing links in the planetary pattern. Imagine finding a sunken stone circle off the coast of India or a pyramid complex on the drowned Sunda shelf of Southeast Asia. Such a discovery would not just add another dot to the map, it would fundamentally reshape the entire web of connections, proving the network's true extent was even grander than we currently suspect. On land, advanced technology is pulling back the veil on hidden worlds. LiDAR, which uses laser pulses to see through dense jungle canopy, is revealing thousands of previously unknown prehistoric sites. In the Amazon rainforest and the highlands of Cambodia, these hidden structures are emerging from the shadows. Any one of them could hold the mathematical key to understanding the full logic behind the global arrangement. Were these sites also placed according to the same sacred rules of geometry? The answer could be waiting in a newly discovered earthwork or a forgotten temple alignment. To move from compelling anecdotes to undeniable proof, the research must become truly interdisciplinary. The future lies in teams where archaeologists work alongside astrophysicists, geologists, and data scientists. They will use powerful computers to run complex statistical models on the locations of thousands of ancient sites, searching for patterns that are simply too large and too precise for the human eye to perceive. The ultimate goal for many researchers is the discovery of a foundational key, a primary meridian or a master number that the original surveyors used as their starting point for mapping the entire planet. Finding this would be like discovering the Rosetta Stone for a lost global language of form and measurement. As our tools and our collaborative methods grow more sophisticated, we stand at the edge of a profound revelation. We are no longer just piecing together a mystery from the past. We are actively testing a grand theory of human history. The validation of this global network would do more than rewrite history books. It would fundamentally alter our understanding of human ingenuity, revealing a forgotten epoch when our ancestors saw the Earth not as a collection of separate lands, but as a single, sacred whole, designed to be measured, harmonized, and honored. What other secrets are these ancient stones still holding, waiting for the right question to be asked? Our journey ends not with a final answer, but with a profound new question about who we once were. From the solstice fires of Stonehenge to the geodetic anchor of the Great Pyramid and the celestial avenues of Teotihuacan, a single thread of knowledge connects them all. We find the same mathematical constants, the same obsession with the slow precession of the equinoxes, and the same sacred geometry echoing across oceans. This is not a story of isolated cultures stumbling upon similar ideas. It is the evidence of a shared heritage, a forgotten curriculum of cosmic science and spiritual wisdom that was written into the landscape itself. While healthy skepticism reminds us to question correlations, the cumulative evidence is overwhelming. The recurring megalithic yard, the precise planetary positioning, the universal language of serpent energy and world navels, they all point toward a unified vision. This global network of stone sites is far more than an archaeological puzzle. It is a silent testament to a time when humanity saw itself as part of a living cosmos and built not for tribal glory, but to harmonize the earth with the heavens. This discovery invites us to look at every ancient stone with fresh wonder. What other connections are waiting to be found? If this glimpse into a connected past has sparked your curiosity, I invite you to share your own thoughts and theories in the comments below. And subscribe to join us as we continue to explore the deepest mysteries of our shared human story.